What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 12 Games of Christmas presented by the Unlockables podcast. As always, I'm your host, Eric. I'd like to thank you for tuning in wherever, whenever in time and space you might be located. And thank you for joining us for our year-end celebration of all things video games, of all things Unlockables, a great year of Unlockables. If you've listened to the previous episodes, you know by now that 12 Games of Christmas, we are playing the 12 games that I love the most this year, 2022 year of our Lord, and talking about them. 12 games, 12 days, 12 episodes in a row. It's a great time. We're having a wonderful time so far. But as I've said on probably almost all the other episodes, you know that I haven't been able to do it alone, and I haven't wanted to do it alone. I've been bringing back some people to join with me and talk about the games that I loved who were important to the success of Unlockables in the first year. And this episode is no different. I have a guest waiting in the wings. All he wants for Christmas is his two front teeth. It is my good friend, Jared from Play Along Podcast. Jared, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. I'd be better if I actually had those two front teeth. So please listen so we can get money for those teeth. But no, seriously, Eric, thanks for having me on. It's an honor to be part of this. And it's always a blast to be on an episode of The Unlockables.
Thank you, sir, for joining me again. I'm trying to do Christmas themed intros for everybody, and I'm like trying to think like everything's like Christmas Carol related, and I'm just like I'm running out of Christmas carols now. So how far we've gotten into it? So
you got it. You're the master of puns. You can. I believe in you. I believe in you.
I just have to come up with a few more, and then we'll be okay. But yeah, no, thank you once again for joining me, sir. You were on episode 5, if we're not counting the episode 0 I did of Unlockables. Wow. Seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
It honestly really does.
Yeah, but thank you for coming back, and honestly, like I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Without you and without Ben and Kai and the guys over at Play Along, I don't think Unlockables would have been as successful as I felt it was this year. So for you guys to be a part of it is a big honor for me. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I mean, you put in the hard work too. Handling solo podcasting is hard in itself, but yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, I put a lot of pressure on myself because I'm like, I have to adhere to the schedule. It's like, wait, I make the schedule. Why am I stressing myself out so much?
I can do whatever I want. This is my podcast.
Exactly. So, but like we said, 12 Games of Christmas, we're celebrating the 12 best games that I played this year. Not necessarily have to come out in 2022. Some of the games have come out this year. Some of the games have been games from prior decades, even as early as the 90s. We've had some interesting games that we've talked about. But today we are talking about a game that did in fact come out at the very start of 2022, which seems like an eternity ago.
This game came out in January. That's right.
In January, the pre-Elden Ring times. And of course, the game that we are referencing is Pokémon Legends Arceus. Pokémon Legends Arceus, better known by its Christian name Monster Hunter Sinnoh, developed by Game Freak, published by Nintendo, released worldwide on January 28th in my notes. Whoopsie. It was released worldwide on January 28th, 2022, roughly 1 month before the aforementioned Juggernaut Elden Ring. This one got I don't know if I changed the Metacritic rating for the PS. Wow, Jared, I awfully did terrible on these notes here. I left PS5 in there. This game was not on PS5. 83 rating on Metacritic, 8.75 out of 10 on Game Informer, 8 out of 10 on GameSpot, 7 out of 10 on IGM, and 38 out of 40 from Famitsu. As of March 31st, 2022 is the most recent sales data we had. It had sold 12.64 million copies, selling 6.5 million copies the week it released. No awards to speak of this year, but it is early, even though Pokemon games don't relatively garner a lot of traditional like awards at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's just how kind of it's been for Pokemon games. And then the last thing to note, I implemented for the 12 games of Christmas, the Christmas meter, how Christmas a game was that I felt embodied the spirit of Christmas. For this one, I put a solid 5 out of 10 candy canes. There's snow. So I feel like snow's pretty Christmassy.
That's a fair score. That's a fair score.
Yeah. So it's not quite like full, like 10 out of 10, like Santa Claus, but there's snow. Like you go to like a winter biome area. So
you're gonna get people reviewed bombing Legends Arceus with 5 out of 10 candy canes now.
Right. They're like,
after they listen to this.
Unlockables single-handedly torpedoed the Metacritic score of Legends Arceus. But So Jared, I know that you and I kind of bonded over our love of Pokemon when we first were introduced to one another, and we both have a long, deep history with the series. So I just wanted to kind of get some of your thoughts. What was your experience playing Legends Arceus in 2022, and why do you think we should talk about this game at the end of the year?
Yeah, it was really interesting leading like the marketing and the talk of this game leading up to release, because forever I feel like Pokemon fans have been like, we want an open world Pokemon game. That has been the thing we've kind of got. That we got the Zelda, we got the open kind of zone with Mario Odyssey. Like we're slowly seeing more and more games that hadn't adapted that formula do it, and Pokemon was the one that at least Pokemon fans have been wanting for a very long time. So to see something like Legends Arceus be announced and released, super excited. I was super pumped. Even when they were just like, we never said it was open world. It's an open zone kind of gameplay. Think Monster Hunter and stuff like that. Regardless, that was great. I enjoyed the wild area of Sword and Shield, but it did feel like it was lacking a bit. Also, going from that and then going back to fixed camera in Sword and Shield was something that was very like not daunting, but it was weird. It was weird being able to have a free flowing camera and then just to have a fixed camera in other areas. So having Legends Arceus completely free and open was really cool, and it take place in Sinnoh and ancient Sinnoh. So going back on an area that we know, and Sinnoh, well, I was gonna say it was my favorite. It was my favorite. I played through BDSP and I was like, maybe Sinnoh's not my favorite Pokemon anymore. But yeah, I think the Sinnoh being the setting is really cool, and them tackling it in a different format was really interesting for sure.
I would agree with you. I think the biggest thing for me was, at its core, this still felt like Pokemon, and it was Pokemon. It's a Pokemon that, we've come to know and love throughout the years. But I would say that in probably Pokemon's 25-year existence, at least this is the way I've kind of felt, this to me feels like the biggest kind of departure from their tried and true formula that they've really ever kind of attempted for the series. I mean, they kind of did some of that stuff with Sword and Shield. Like you said, they experimented with giving you a wild open area to explore. But like you said, this ramps it up to a whole new level. Like you really do have like these open zones, like you say, and the ability to really go anywhere inside of them and explore and not have like a kind of a set map or a set path to travel on. It really, to me, feels like them taking the training wheels off. It feels like a really, really big step for the series. And, even though I feel like Legends Arceus, I don't feel like it's not. We always have this and this conversation comes around anytime we have a Pokemon game where it's like, oh, well, the graphics don't look great or this or that or thing. Or like Game Freak's like level of game development isn't up to what we would expect for modern day standards. But I always say, first of all, like if you're coming to a Pokemon game for like graphics, you're coming for like the completely wrong reason.
For the wrong reasons.
Exactly. And like the Switch is underpowered anyways. But I still found myself having a really great time with this game. And
100%.
I think for better or worse, I think you and I are probably both in the same boat, having played pretty much every Pokemon piece of media that has come out until now.
Absolutely.
This is great. And yeah, just to piggyback off what you said too, like I think the setting is really, really fascinating, especially with the history of the Sinnoh region, like in the games, for them to kind of like extrapolate that back in time towards like the ancient Sinnoh region. I think that's really, really fascinating concept.
Yeah, and it's always interesting because it seems like Pokemon's, or rather Game Freak's mentality is to, continue to iterate on and come out with new ideas, but to leave the other ideas before. Like they're always wanting to do something new, leave the gimmicks, leave those things behind. So when they do something cool, like, I mean, regardless of how you felt about Pokemon Let's Go, it brought a lot of new people in. They try to merge it with kind of the casual fan base as well. But people enjoyed that so much. They're like, yeah, we want Johto. Let's do Let's Go Johto or whatever. And then even when this came out, Legends Arceus, people were already theorizing of what other kind of ancient they can go, like ancient Unova or ancient Johto. I said a lot of people doing Johto and wanting to see like that version of it. So it's really cool that those kind of things spawned that other inspiration in the community, even though I don't think we're going to get like another Arceus, Legends Arceus at all.
The thing that people don't understand about Pokemon, and this is just a talk about Pokemon in general, is that when you look at the top selling games on any console, whether it's Game Boy or it's the Switch or the DS or anything like that, Pokemon games are very often at or near the top of those lists. Like I said, by the most recent sales data I could find for this one, and by recent sales data, I didn't look any further than Wikipedia because I'm lazy.
That's all you need. That's all you need.
Yeah. By March, it had sold over 12.5 million units, that's not an insignificant amount at all. The comparison that I went to immediately was another episode I did during 12 Games of Christmas was Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Sold over 4 million units and became the most successful game of the franchise. Yes, best-selling Kirby game, beating out Dreamland on the Game Boy. And Legends Arceus sold 3 times that amount. And I would argue that compared to what other games have sold in the Pokemon franchise, that doesn't feel like a lot to me. I mean, you look at Sword and Shield is one of, if not near the top of the best selling Switch games, and any game you'd go back and look at in any other Nintendo hardware, I would be willing to bet that Pokemon is definitely up there.
It's so weird too, because like with these games, and we saw this with Legends Arceus as well, that right before a game comes out, there's always so many people like hashtag boycott Game Freak, or this game's not going to sell, or some stupid tree or whatever. And then they come out and they're just amazing. And I think we have to realize also that a lot of people playing these games, they don't care. They're playing Pokemon. They don't care about the graphics or the tree or whatever, the national dex cut. They're playing Pokemon, regardless if they're like hardcore fans that will, let's be honest, probably play Pokemon regardless of what the game is, because it's Pokemon. But also people like kids, they don't care. Yeah, exactly. I lumped us in there because I assumed that it's both of us. But yeah, like kids that just that don't care. So we see these games, regardless of their criticisms, still being successful. And Legends Arceus does have its shortcomings. Like you said, it doesn't, not the prettiest looking game. You could argue that the open world is pretty empty, besides Pokemon that you can run into. An issue that I have, and I noticed this in just like thinking about Legends Arceus and playing it again, and it's not an issue that I think can be changed. It's almost like a fundamental issue with how the game works, is that I think that this game, in terms of my idea of replayability, is the least replayable Pokemon game. Now, elaborating on that, I think that there's a lot of reasons to go back to this. Like if you wanted to complete, like after you roll credits or whatever, if you wanted to complete the decks, or if you want to do that and everything like that, there's a lot to that. And there's a lot that you could do to complete this game that could take a long amount of time. But I go back and play through Pokemon games constantly. Playing it through at least one old Pokemon game a year is probably, I do way more than that. I play a lot of Pokemon.
Yeah.
And the idea of thinking about replaying through Legends Arceus doesn't feel appealing to me at all. Like going back and having to do that. And I don't know if that's just like the mechanics of catching. I'm not saying those things are bad, because they're enjoyable when you're doing them. But then the idea of going back to the beginning and catch 16 Wurmple. And you're like, I did this already. Like I've already done all of this. And so, yeah, so it's not that I think Legends Arceus is bad, but just like that, I don't think I will ever go back to the beginning and play it.
That's an interesting point you made, because I feel like, and listen, this game is on my 12 Games of Christmas. This is one of the best games that I played this year. But like I said, we try to be fair to it on both ends of it for sure. I think this game introduced a lot of quality of life improvements to absolutely Pokemon things in general. Like you mentioned catching. Like, yes, the reason you can initially catch 16 Wurmples is because the catching feels really good. It's quick.
So good.
yeah, it's quick, it's snappy, like it feels good to like throw Pokeballs in this game. It feels absolutely incredible. Another thing they did was they made battles really, really snappy, infield battles and trainer battles. It doesn't, you don't have this long transition screen, you don't have these slow attack animations. Everything is super fast and super snappy. So they were giving us, I don't know if like they were using this game to like experiment with like quality of life improvements for the series. I'm not 100% sure. But on the flip side of that, like same thing, you're 100% right, because the core premise of this game, like Pokemon games in the mainline series always have like a couple of things going on in them, right? So there's like, of course, the aspect of catching Pokemon. You're doing the gym challenge and trying to become the best trainer. You're dealing with the shenanigans of like whatever team comes up. There's always some kind of like legendaries, like side quests or something like that. So like there's like multiple different things you do in mainline Pokemon games that make them replayable. This one's pretty on the nose. And to me, this Legends Arceus is probably the most like gotta catch 'em all aspect game that they've ever come out with, because that when you get to the end of the game, we won't spoil it or anything like that, it's very much like, hey, catch everything, complete the decks, pretty much.
Which, I mean, if you think about it, is pretty much the goal for every Pokemon game usually. Like the professor's like, oh, go complete the Pokedex. But I've probably completed the Pokedex in maybe a handful of the games. That's never like usually my intention going into it. Usually I beat the game, and sometimes I think I did it in Sword and Shield because you get the shiny charm and there's things like that too. But this game, plot-wise, that is the plot. Like the narrative is like driven because of this idea of like creating the first Pokedex and filling that out for the professor. So it's more integral to the plot in this game than it really has in any other Pokemon game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. And once you do that, you don't really have the motivation to like go and do it again, because that is a fair bit of work. Because in order to fill out the Pokedex, you're not just catching one of every Pokemon. It's like you're catching multiple of them and you're battling with them and you're leveling up to try and like raise your research level, essentially is how that works. Another point I will make is in forms of like quality of life things was normally, and this is especially too in newer Pokemon games as well, with the way they've implemented like having a permanent EXP share and stuff like that. Normally I feel like I get to a point, because these games are very much like geared towards a younger audience, and that's not a critique of these games at all. There is still challenge to be had in Pokemon if you go and look for it 100%. This game in particular, I always felt like no matter how much I was like leveling my Pokemon or catching other Pokemon or trying to like level up before I like moved on to different areas, I always felt that whenever I was in like a conflict or a battle or like a point in the story where you were like fighting other trainers for big story beats, I always felt like I was right around the level that the game wanted me to be. I felt the game, like combat wise and pacing wise, was like very well paced.
No, 100%. I totally agree.
Even to the point where it's like, normally Pokemon battles don't cause me like an overt amount of stress,
right?
Or like get my heart beating or anything like that. But the end of this game in particular, when you have like a couple of these really hard battles in a row, really got my blood pumping, and really for like the first time like pushed me into thinking about like what moves I was going to make, and was I going to switch to like the agile style or the strong style. And
that's what I was just about to say.
Yeah. So and really too, like there's not like this chipping away at each other's health. It's like, your Pokemon might be level 70, but a level 70 Pokemon can like one or two shot your Pokemon very easily. So there was this added like level of stress that I really like, almost a thrill of battling that I hadn't really felt in a long time.
So I play a lot of Pokemon Nuzlocke, and Legends Arceus definitely gave me that exact same feeling, because putting a battle system in which most of the turns is you one-shotting the person or them one-shotting you because of strong style powering up a move, or agile style giving them that extra speed boost where they outspeed something they usually don't. Like, just adding those two kind of mechanics into the battle system completely changes it. 'Cause now, like you said, you have to be really intentional with the moves that you're doing and swapping and making sure like your type effectivenesses are up and knowing your resistances and everything, and also changing like what sleep and freeze is in this game, where it's like the frostbite and drowsiness and everything. Like those things completely changed the kind of the meta of how you battled. Because I mean, like you said, catching and exploring was the mainstay of this game, battling less, but the battling was still a part of it. But they, like you said, they wanted to make it quick and snappy so you can get back to the catching and get back to the exploring too. Sometimes that 100%. Quick and snappy meant your team gets wiped out by a trainer, which is...
Absolutely. If I think if I'm going to put a spoiler wall right here, just so we can kind of touch on the end of it, because I really want to. So I'm speaking in particular too about this end battle with, I believe the gentleman's name is Volo. I believe it was. When he met ninjas to capture Giratina, and you have this fight with him in this epic fight.
Such an amazing fight,
dude. It was amazing. It was difficult too, and I got to hand it to Game for Game Pokemon, because I would say that there isn't a lot in these games that like catch me off guard or cause me to go like, holy shit, like that's intense. The first time you beat Volo's Giratina and it faints and then it turns into the second form and you have to fight it again.
Game Freak's like, you want a hard Pokemon game? Okay.
Dude, like this Final Fantasy-esque, like, you defeated the main villain and now like God
his
shows up and now you have to kill God. Up. Dude.
Yeah.
It was something about like it triggered the nostalgia in my brain combined with like this, like it felt like such an epic moment. And I think
because the first battle was hard enough on its own. Like I struggled with the first battle. So getting through that, I think I had, like I remember getting through it and I had like a Cresselia. I don't know what was on my team, but I had one Pokemon left. And then he came back and I was like, I can't do this. I have one Pokemon left.
It's like, dude, you wiped my team out. Like
exactly. No, but such a cool, it definitely like you said, I think nostalgia was the right word. It kind of made me feel like a very intense like anime battle, like a Pokemon battle in the anime. It almost like gave off because you're fighting Volo and he's obviously seen as like the big twist is he's like the big bad and he captures Giratina and everything. You fight Giratina super hard and then Giratina has a second form.
Right. Yeah. And I like I said, I think that in a series, especially people like you and me that have played all of these, this particular reason right here was the reason why this game was one of my 12 best this year, is because it created such an intense and epic moment in a video game franchise that I kind of felt like I had pegged and figured out. And I value a lot when games can subvert my expectations, and especially a game that I'm familiar with or I think that I know, and make me feel something different and be like, oh, like that's actually really cool. I think this type of thing is, the Pokemon franchise needs more moments like this. And I don't know quite how to like distill that down into like a formula, but like for them to subvert my expectations in a way that I did not expect, and me like to get a really intense experience out of it from a franchise that I've been a fan of for so long. Yeah. It's similar to, and it's not quite a one-to-one comparison, but it's a similar reason why I love the God of War that came out in 2018 so much. It's because it created an experience that subverted my expectations. Like I thought I had Kratos pinned and figured out easily as a character. Is like, oh, he's just super violent and he kills gods. Like that's pretty one-dimensional. But then they showed me a game where there's so many more facets to his character. Plus the game is fun to play. And I really value a game that makes you do that, and I really felt like this game did that for me.
Yeah, I mean it's always interesting in a game when they could either instill some emotion through you, and that's what we've been like, it'd be cool to have like maybe deeper narrative in Pokemon games. I understand broad majority children totally get it.
But
give
me Pokemon with the lore of Dark Souls. Let's go.
Exactly. But whenever there's an instance in games like this that can create a reaction like this, they're noticeable, memorable. Like with this battle with Volo, it creating that reaction in you. And it was super cool just like seeing people's reactions on social media and YouTube of just like this fight.
Oh, yeah.
And that going around was like super fun to see people just like freak out over the second form. Like that's really cool. Like you don't necessarily have to have a big emotional narrative, but doing things like that, instilling these reactions in people, that's why it's really cool to go into like Pokemon games as spoiler free as possible, which is what I've been trying to do with Scarlet and Violet, even though they're fucking everywhere. It's like a minefield out there. Seeing these Pokemon for the first time in game is one of those things that like creates that reaction for me. I did that in Sword and Shield, and like running into like something you've never seen before, and you're like, I don't know what the typing is. It's super cool. Look at this design. It's like when you can create those reactions, that's like kind of the best moments in Pokemon for me.
Yeah, and in a series as long and storied as this one, filled with memorable moments, this to me is easily as soon as I saw it, and as soon as I experienced it, finished it, it was top 5 Pokemon moment of all time for me, 100%, which is crazy because, you know, I've been playing the game for 25 years and there's been so many of them. But speaking of, like you said, we are, I think, moments away from.
It's so close.
We're recording this in November, so we are a couple, and so these takes will probably be old by the time this comes out, definitely. Right. But we are moments away from the imminent release of the new mainline games, Scarlet and
Gen
Violet.
Gen 9's here, baby.
Yeah, which I'm genuinely excited about, even though people are like, oh, it's another Pokemon game. It's like, I've played everyone, and I will continue to play everyone until I die, probably. Yeah. That's kind of morbid. Merry Christmas. But, so yeah, I just want to kind of, to get kind of, I feel like they claim this one will be like open world where you can go wherever you want and experience any parts of the story that you want to be able to. So I'm just curious, just general thoughts on everything you've heard so far. What do you think? I know we're not talking about Arceus anymore, but we got to speculate a little bit here.
Yeah.
And like I said, these takes will be old by the time it comes out.
Yeah,
but.
And I can relate this to Legends Arceus, because Legends Arceus, even though I don't know, like, development wise, people are saying like, oh, this is like them testing the waters and everything like that. I think probably it's more just like iterating on the things you've built up before, even though they've left mechanics behind like Mega Evolution and things like that.
Right.
But Legends Arceus made me excited for the possibility of something that was more open. I liked the open zone. I think that's cool. But there's something about just like worlds being seamless that just make the place feel more real. It makes the environments and the settings feel more real. And so going into Legends Arceus and them very prominently in the advertising, because they didn't do this at all at Legends Arceus, but saying this is an open world game, like Game Freak going out and saying it, is very exciting. I know that there's multiple ways that you can do this, which is interesting. I don't know if bum's the right word. I know the whole level scaling thing doesn't necessarily happen. Like if you go to a gym that you're too under leveled for, then it's going to be higher level than you, and that's just like what's going to happen. Which, I mean, any kind of big RPG open world, if you're going to a zone that you're too weak for, you're going to get destroyed by the thing. So I guess it kind of makes sense. But I'm excited. I'm so excited for kind of this open world and to explore Pokemon in another kind of new setting or in another updated version of what Legends Arceus presented, because I think they were definitely onto something there. Like I said, there's things they could probably tweak, but I'm so excited for Scarlet and Violet.
I am as well, and in a weird kind of way. I don't know if this is exactly how it went down, but I can kind of see like the invisible thread through line of directly connecting Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet, because we had, to me at least, we had like the experimental, like the wild area in Sword and Shield, where we got the openness to kind of roam around. So to me, it was like, okay, they were kind of thinking about this and they wanted to experiment with that idea in Sword and Shield just to see if something like that would be possible. And then obviously just based on the timing, Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet had to have been in development kind of at the same time. But I feel like, you know, Legends Arceus was maybe like a playground to like test some ideas and iterate on some new ones.
Yeah. If anything, for the developers to see how it worked developing a game in this 3D environment.
Exactly. And then I know that we're going back to some more like the mainline tropes for Scarlet and Violet, but you can kind of see the stepping stones kind of laid out. And so it shows that like, yeah, Pokemon will never innovate or iterate on itself as fast as the modern gaming industry does. But it seems to me that they're willing to try new things. And 100%. I'm cautiously optimistic because, like I said, the only ways that they were willing to iterate on their gameplay before was like very specific things where they were bringing in like, okay, this specific gimmick for this game was Mega Evolution. Mm-hmm. This specific gimmick for this game was like Dynamaxing or Z moves or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the other way they kind of iterated to was like storytelling. And now it looks to me like they're kind of willing to start trying all these things at once, where it's like, okay, we're going to give you a wide open world with different story elements so you can explore it every time. We're going to bring in something like Mega Evolutions and terrestrializing Pokemon. And then we're going to try, it looks too like a part of the story of Scarlet and Violet, like there's something to do with like these bigger Pokemon that kind of harken back to the noble Pokemon we had in Arceus. So it seems to me they're pushing in the right direction.
And I agree. But kind of circling back to Legends Arceus here, those noble Pokemon and fighting those was so fun. It was so interesting, and especially because my intention was after like fighting Cleaver was they're all going to be like this, you know, you're running around, you're dodging attacks, you're throwing bombs, whatever. But to see that each of them kind of had their own kind of gimmick and mechanic to the boss fight was so cool. Right. It was a very pleasant surprise to see that they weren't all like kind of just cut and paste. I mean, ultimately you're still just throwing the bags of food at them, quelling them and then catching them. But there was at least something different between all 4 or 5 of them. 5? I think there's 5.
Yeah, I do believe so. And I think that's cool too, because it's one of the rare instances throughout the series where it's your specific character avatar versus the Pokemon. That doesn't usually happen. And something else kind of also cool, whereas like the Pokemon can very much attack you, the trainer, in the world if you wander into their territory. Which is what we always like thought. Like where it's like, oh, if you had these big dragons and dinosaurs, you'd get hurt by them. And Legends Arceus was like, yes, that's what happens. If you go up to this Pokemon, it can hurt you. If you go over by the Snorlax with glowing red eyes, it is going to mess up your shit. Like that's just, for me, man. I don't know about you, but like every time I was in with like a spitting distance of a Paris, that thing would like beeline straight. They're murder machines, relentless murder machines. There is some massive boss fights in this game, and somehow Paris is the most aggressive Pokemon in Legends Arceus because they are just especially early on, they're a menace. Right, 100%. But going back to like the point about the noble Pokemon is that I think that is a blueprint going forward as well, because I felt like you're right. Like a lot of it does boil down to like you're throwing things at the noble Pokemon, but I think there's so much they could do with that, where it's like they could like design the arenas in such a way where there's like a puzzle solving element to try and like defeat the boss as well. I can't think of something off the top of my head, but and then they could incorporate like, oh, maybe like if it's a flying one, you have to fly around one of your flying Pokemon, like chase it down or something, and have like a multi-area fight or something like that. I think the aspect like these games always try to hammer home where it's like it's the bond between humans and Pokemon, but most of the time it's like the Pokemon doing the fighting. And I think it's really cool that the player character avatar gets to participate in the boss fight with almost even just like you can move around freely while battles are happening. Just like standing too close to an attack like knocks your character down, and it's like those little nods, like that's fun. Like that's a cool thing. One of the bosses that stand out for me specifically is I think it's the last one, the last or second to last one, but the Avalugg fight, which almost feels like a mini like Returnal boss to me, because it's like shooting those projectiles that you have to dodge and everything. For me, I think the one that stuck out to me was Arcanine, but that's just because Arcanine's like literally my favorite Pokemon of all time. So did you like its Hisuian form? I did. I thought it was very cool. The Fire Rock typing was I liked a lot of the Hisuian the forms. I thought that was a really cool concept too, where it's like, oh yeah, it's obviously okay to have these different forms because this is ancient history, and like maybe some of these will like evolve or branch out. Like these Pokemon wouldn't be present in the present day just because it's older times. Yeah, it's a perfect excuse to just like redesign and rework some of your Pokemon that like, I mean, they've had like regional forms for different regions, but it's like, oh, we can rework Pokemon that we haven't touched and just be like, oh, these are their past forms, you know? Exactly. So Jared, to kind of wrap things up here, because like I said, I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter. 2 questions. One, what was your general team that you like to roll with? Because I always love to talk about people with their team. So what did you? I swapped around a lot in Legends Arceus, but eventually I found like a team that I really like to rock with. Even though I can't remember now because I'm like blanking. But I'm terrible. That's that question. And then do you think they continue on with this sort of Legends series and do like another region?
Okay, well, I'll start with that question because I kind of talked about it. Unfortunately, no, I don't think they will. Which would be so cool if they, like, just seeing people do like concepts for like a Legends Celebi and Johto, and like the ancient Johto forms, playing off of just like the Tin Tower kind of situation with the legendary dogs and their original forms and Ho-Oh and everything. Like, just lore and canonically wise, that would be a really cool time period to go back to.
I agree. 100%.
Unfortunately, like we were talking about, I think once they have something, they kind of just like, cool, we did that. Let's move on to other said thing. Maybe we'll pull some gimmicks here and there, like the catching mechanic. Maybe not the exact same as Legends Arceus. Will be somewhat present in Scarlet and Violet. Like throwing Pokeballs at Pokemon in the overworld is going to be a thing, regardless if it's the same or not. But no, unfortunately, I don't think so. But hey. Fan games, Nintendo, don't take them down. I mean, Game Freak, don't take them down. Let them be free.
True, 100%.
My team, I was the same way. My team was all over the place. I chose. Oh, who did I pick as my starter? There's Oshawott, there's Rowlet, and then who was fire? Why can't I think of fire?
Cyndaquil was the fire.
Oh, I did Cyndaquil.
Yes.
Yeah, I did the Hisuian Typhlosion.
Okay.
Yeah, even though like I don't usually go fire. I think that's why I chose Cyndaquil, but I think I like the other two designs better. I think the Decidueye is really cool, and then I think Samurot's design is fun too. But I tried to go with some of the new ones. Like I use Hisuian Gudra, I know that for sure. I try to use some like Pokemon that I like aesthetically love, but I don't use that much. Like I used a Yanmega, which I thought was really fun because I love Yanma and Yanmega, and they're Pokemon that I love, but I don't use that often. So I was like, why not? Let's. And I caught a shiny one, so I was running a shiny Yanmega for my playthrough, which was fun. Which is another thing. Shiny hunting was really easy in Legends Arceus, which made just shiny hunting really fun.
Yeah.
I think I tried using Hisuian Electrode. The Grass Electric is really cool, but I ended up booting him off the team. There were so many legends you can get. I had a Cresselia on my team at one point. With the Giratina fight, I had a Cresselia on my team.
Yes.
Oh man, I'm blanking. There's so many Pokemon in that game. And then there was like the little like time warp zones that you can catch Pokemon that you normally wouldn't see. Which is really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I swapped around a lot in that game.
Yeah, I think for me, so I picked, even though like Cyndaquil is one of my, I normally pick with the water starters just because that's what I've always gone through. Even though Gen 2 is the exception, I love Cyndaquil. But yeah, I picked Oshawott. I thought the design for Hisui and Samurott was super cool. I know for a fact that as soon as I caught Hisui and Growlithe, I rocked with Arcanine through the whole game. Yeah. Just because I had to. And then I feel like there were Shinx that were pretty abundant. So I think I rocked with Luxray. I think I rocked with Luxray for like my electric type. And then, the last three spots were kind of like all over the place. I know that, towards the end of that, I think I did have the Cresselia in there because the Cresselia helped with the Giratina.
That's exactly why I brought Cresselia in my team. I need help. Somebody help me.
And I feel like the last two were just kind of like...
Oh, I had a Crobat on my team. I love running Crobats.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. I don't know if I had anything that was flying because like you didn't need anything that could fly in this game because they just gave you the flute that you just flute and interesting concept. But I think we've praised this game enough. If you don't believe, listen, if you have been kind of off the Pokemon train for a while, like I understand you haven't played the last couple gens, that's fine. I won't judge you for that. If you're looking for an opportunity to like jump back into the series with like a little bit of a different experience, I think this is fantastic. I think it offers enough variety and that can keep you interested and give you just a different experience. And I really hope that they decide to bring it back with something else because I think there's a lot of untapped potential here. I really think there is.
There's always untapped potential, Eric. That's the problem. They don't go back to it.
So much. Listen, give the Legends series to the Monster Hunter team at Capcom. Let's make it happen. Let's go.
Or let Bandai Namco try it out. They did great with Pokemon Snap. I mean, not the like core Pokemon game where you have to develop battle mechanics and typings. But
Snap looked great. Though.
It looks beautiful. That's all we need. It doesn't need to function. It just needs to look.
Game Freak, give us a call. We'll help you out for sure. So, but before we wrap things up, before we go, Jared, I just wanted to say thank you so much for giving some of your time tonight, man, and talking to me.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's always fun talking about Pokemon.
It's a blast, dude. I really appreciate it. And my mind's completely blanking. I'm sorry. It's almost 10 o'clock here. I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of the first year of Unlockables. Like I said at the top, it definitely wouldn't have been as successful as it was without your involvement. And I'm a huge fan of what you guys do over at Play Along. Speaking of, would you like to take just a brief minute and, in case this is somebody's first episode, just tell people where they can find you and what you guys do?
Yeah, so I mean, you can find Play Along Podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just Google it now. Our Spotify comes up right there. You can check it out. But our podcast, in a nutshell, is we play games in like a book club format. There's myself and two other co-hosts. We'll each take turns choosing a game, and then we'll kind of break that game down into sections, and each week just talk about that section until we get to the end. And we've played tons of things. We've played Pokemon. We have a playthrough of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl where I do a Nuzlocke of it. I maybe make it, I maybe don't. Go listen to it.
Some of us podcasters definitely die along the way, for sure.
Yes.
So that's that was a fun adventure. I swear by Play Along. Play Along is one of my go-to shows every single week. As soon as there's a new episode on Tuesday, I'm listening. It's part of my weekly routine. So if just go listen to it. And I gotta say there is something to playing a game in sections along. I did this for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, where it's like I played along with you guys. Like I literally did what the name of the show said, and I played with you guys in the sections, and it was a really cool experience just to like feel like I was part of that conversation with you guys. It felt really cool. So if you hear that they're going to be playing a game that you're interested in, I definitely recommend like playing it along with them. And it's a really, really cool experience. Something that I've never quite experienced in podcasting or really in any kind of video game content before. So Play Along Podcast gets a big 2 thumbs up from this guy.
Man. Do you ever have someone just like compliment you and you're just like, yeah. Cool.
It makes me very uncomfortable. So.
No, but seriously, I appreciate all the love, man. Really do.
No problem. And I'm excited for 2023 for both of us. I'm excited to see what you guys do. I have some stuff in the works that I know that I'm going to want to ask you guys to come on and help me with for sure. So it'll be a really, really exciting year coming up. And just thank you again. And to everybody that stopped in, thank you so much. We appreciate you listening. And I guess the only thing I have left to say is have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Play Pokemon.